If you are into gardening like we are, then you are at this stage, at this time of the year. And every year we talk about how much we love our gardening, but this is tedious work. So we're going to try something new and see if it helps give us some of our time back in the spring. Good day, everyone. Today at Northern Lights Homestead, we're going to get experimental. We are getting excited for gardening season. We've already got our seedlings going in the house, mostly peppers and tomatoes. They're a little more fragile. And anyway, what sparked all this is the last few years at the old homestead, we noticed a lot of our vegetables and sunflowers returning in our compost, which meant they were surviving through the winter with little more than a couple of inches of snow and some dirt on them. And we would spread them on our garden, spread the compost, and we'd see tomato plants and everything coming up. Anyway, long story short, we want to try and replicate that. So we are first week of April. We still have easily 2 feet of snow on the ground everywhere. Lots of good moisture will come from all this. The ground's still very soft. I mean, there's a little bit of frost, but anyway, we are going to seed. We're going to put some corn, some beans, some peas into some soil on top of the existing soil. We're going to repack the snow onto that soil and wait and see what happens in the spring. We hope that some of it comes up. We realize that with a Three Sisters type of a planting that we're going to do, you're supposed to wait until the corn's a few inches tall, but so we may have to stake the corn. Yeah, we're going to give it a try, see what happens, and we're excited to see what the results are, and we're excited to share that with you guys. So hopefully here in the next 3 to 4 weeks, when all this is melted and gone, the sunshine will wake those seeds up, and we'll see what happens. And if it works, then what we're going to do is next fall, after we've harvested everything, while the soil's still easy to work with and all the dead foliage is there, we're just going to lay everything down and kind of let nature take its course and see what happens with some of the plants reseeding themselves. And then we'll obviously plant seeds where there isn't any chance for things to come back. And yeah, we're excited. I don't see any reason why this can't work. They do say if you're going to use your seeds, you're to freeze them. We had to look this up because we weren't really sure what the terms were, but it's a winter stratification. And apparently the seeds get acclimated to the frost and the freezing, so you can plant them in the fall, and in the spring when everything's gone, the seed should germinate and come up. What we're going to do, we're at the new homestead and we don't have a garden yet. We haven't quite figured out where we want to lay it out because of drainage and high ground and everything. So, and we don't want to till or disrupt the soil here this year. So we're going to try a different method. We're going to try and replicate that method right now. I'm just going to pile up a bit of dirt, give it a good 10 inches or so of height, and then we'll put the seeds in that, and then I'll pack the snow back down over that, and yeah, we'll see what happens. So we're just going to put the dirt right over the existing ground. There's still a little bit of frost in there, and we don't want to disrupt the topsoil. That's how we found to get weeds in the past. So this year we're going to try and put our garden on top of the existing soil, leave those nutrients and all of the life, all the living organisms that help with the whole growing process. And then we're going to use that Three Sisters method, which is an indigenous method. It was created a long time ago, and apparently the corn and the beans or the peas and the squash all complement each other. One puts certain nutrients into the soil, the other one draws that excess nutrient from the soil, and the squash make a good shade plant. They also stop weeds and stuff from coming up because they have nice broad leaves and they vine everywhere. So there's a real complementary setup. We started doing it a few years ago. We've had a lot of success with it. We're also going to pepper a few sunflowers out here. We have been growing them for the last few years. We use it for our chicken feed and the wild bird feed. And yeah, it kind of keeps the wild birds off of the garden because they have plenty to eat, and then we harvest the rest and feed it to our chickens. The bees also love them, like they're all over them in the fall. And right now they're just out gathering moisture and kind of getting their bearings. We moved them this year. They've been in the same place for the last few years, so I'm gonna try and been trying to rescue any of the ones I see, but they know best. They know what they're doing. She's just gathering moisture, but some of them get stuck out here and freeze, so we try to save them if we can, but said let nature do its thing. They know what they're doing. Okay, I got my soil in place. I like to get a good 10-12 inches of topsoil. It settles quite a bit and it gives the roots a nice soft base to go down into. So what I'll do is plant my corn in a circle, and I'll plant the beans on the outskirts of the corn, and then yeah, we'll put the squash on the corners. You don't need to put too many of those. I usually go 5 or 6 corn and a couple of peas or beans on either side. Let's take the gloves off for this. And you can also mix it up. Some people do peas, some people do beans, some people do squash, pumpkin. Like any of your squash family really can work on the outside. And we've done sunflowers and brome grass, broomhead, corn, different seed crops. They all work just about the same. They all draw similar nutrient to each other. And normally we would soak these before we seeded them. Back at the old homestead, we'd be second week of June before we could even put these in the ground because of the frost. So we would normally soak them and give them a chance to germinate right away because we had a really short season there. We're hoping here with the excess moisture that these will go ahead and get the soaking that they need, nice and slow and easy as nature intended. And yeah, it's exciting. We're hoping this works. And I usually go about 6 inches spacing on these guys in each direction. It's not critical. You know, there's a lot of direction out there as to the perfect method, but I've had no issues with the way we do it. It works pretty well. So that's my corn. And we're going to alternate and do some peas and beans. Hopefully that works. We're not sure. We have grown them alongside each other in the past without too much issue. Certain types do better with others. But we just want to see if any of these come up. So we're just going to sacrifice a few of these each and see what happens. I'll go 2 on each side of those corns. And then we'll do beans on the opposite sides. What beans we got here? Scarlet Runners. Not a huge fan of these. They're a lot of work to shell, and they're not really great eating. If you let them go too long on the vine, they get a really thick husk on them. Not a huge fan, but bees love the flowers. They're really pretty to look at. They vine quite a bit. These might actually be too much for the corn, but we're going to try them out and see what happens. I feel like Jack planting my beans and hoping a giant beanstalk appears in the morning. And then on our corners, we're going with the sweet pie pumpkins. We have learned, having bees nearby, that the squashes are easily cross-pollinated. So we've ended up with some really wacky-looking squashes, zucchinis that look like pumpkins, and butterscotch or butternut squash that look like zucchini. It's just a like really mutant kind of thing happens. So we're just going to stick with one type of squash for now and see if that solves the issue. These are great for soups and pies, and yeah, we really like them. So they're easy to grow, and you get a lot of production out of one seed. If you let them go, they'll vine out 20-30 feet, and you know, if the bees aren't pollinating them and you get out and pollinate them in the morning, they'll just keep going. They went crazy on us. The one year I spent more time cleaning them up than I did eating them. So, and I'll just throw those on the corners, on the outside, and you know, like I said, they'll spread like crazy. So I don't need to use too many of these seeds. And that's it. We've done different variations of this. Some people do circles, some people do squares. You can do it however you see fit. Google Three Sisters, and you'll see all kinds of different ways people have done this over the years. They even show you how to plot it out on a larger scale if you want to do that. So yeah, we will cover this up now with some snow. I'm going to try and be gentle, not to really pack it down on the first bit. Just kind of dust it back on there, and then hope that we don't squash or put too much pressure onto those seeds. And then yeah, we're going to see what nature does. Like I said, we have witnessed this happen with our tomatoes and our sunflowers and some of our squash. Even a lot of the plants that the beans that we just let go because the frost catches them and we don't get to harvest them before the frost comes and the seeds make their way in, or the birds come and eat the sunflowers, spread them around, and they sit under a whole lot less snow than we have right now, and yeah, they just come up naturally. We also noticed that the ones that come up naturally are a lot hardier than the ones we would grow in the greenhouse, especially the tomatoes, the peppers. Everything just looks like the foliage, the stalk, everything about it is hardier. The fruit, you know, it seems as though they become more acclimated, grown in the natural environment versus the greenhouse, where they can be a little more fragile. So yeah, we're excited to see what happens with this process. All right, I'm a little out of breath, sorry. We got it backfilled, and had an afterthought just before we started doing this to put a stake in. I recommend it. You may or may not find when all this snow melts. So over the next few weeks, we are supposed to climb well up over 0 degrees. It's going to hang over 0 overnight, so a lot of this is just going to start to disappear. We got really good topsoil here in this area. All this moisture is just going to sit in there. This ground is like a sponge, and yeah, we're hoping that helps with the germination on the seeds. And yeah, we will let you know how it goes.